Of course, struggle streaming already. Apparently, I was muted, but at least I saw that myself before the chat let me know. So, what a guan, what a guan, what a guan. Happy hump day. Doing my intro all over again. At least I'm unscripted. I'm looking at the camera. I'm looking at the camera. Hey, so hope everybody's Wednesday's going well. Halfway there to the weekend, pretty much. Technically more than halfway now, right? So got a great show for you guys to hear today. Great show today. Great show, great show. A very well-respected person on YouTube. You're going to look at his video. Very blunt, to the point kind of guy, right? He's a doctor. That helps. Yeah, but I really think this is very valuable information. Some of it will sound familiar, things we've discussed before in the show. And for those new to the show, I think you're going to get a kick out of it. I think you're going to get a good kick out of it. So before we get started, let's say hello to the chat. Hey, Needs Watches, you're early today, or is it that I'm late? It's probably that I'm late, yeah. Needs Watches is always on time. The guy has always got to watch. What did you say? You don't want to be wrist naked? You know, you should have that as your tagline, Needs Watches. You don't want to be wrist naked. I don't think I've heard anybody say that before. He's got a great YouTube channel. Go check him out. Positive Therapist, hello. Workout Wednesday. That's a good one. Hello, Igwe's daughter. Hello, the realist she. That's a very unique name. It's almost like the Before the Billions name. Another good channel to check out, but I like the realist she. That's a very cool name. Skincare do's and don'ts. Hello. Positive Therapist. Hey. Igwe's daughter, of course. And hey, Angelique. Yeah, I think the people that usually join the chat later are here early because I'm late. Yeah, I think that's how that's going. Yeah. I'm going to blame it on the workout. It went a bit longer than I thought it did. So, without further ado, let's get right into it.
Hi, I'm Dr. Ken Berry, a family physician, and in this video, I'm going to tell you the 7 reasons that every diet you've ever tried in your entire life failed. There's specific reasons why those diets could never have worked, and I'm going to give you those 7 reasons in this video, and then also tell you what I think will work for you. I've been helping people for over 20 years improve their health and realize an ideal body weight. Let's talk about the 7 reasons all diets fail. Now, I talk a lot on this channel about a proper human diet. And you're like, wait a minute, Dr. Berry, you just said diet. So this is just another diet that I'm going to fail at. I'm using the word diet in its proper ancestral form. I'm not saying here's a diet for weight loss. I'm saying here's a proper human diet, as in this is the proper way that human beings, Homo sapiens sapiens, should eat for all of their life, from the beginning of their life until the end of their life.
This is a key thing he's talking about here. We've spoken about this before, right? If you're on a diet, whatever you want to call it, just eating healthy, if today, whatever you're doing, a year from now, you can't see yourself doing that same thing. For example, I'm never going to eat pizza again, or I'm only going to eat this broccoli, or whatever it may be. If you can't really do it, you're just lying to yourself, right? Eventually you'll quit, go back to your bad ways, get fat again. There's a reason most diets fail. Statistically, most diets fail. As a matter of fact, there's a good chunk of people who get fatter than when they started dieting, right? We're going to get into that. You guys heard the story the other day. Well, not all of you, obviously, about that lady I met who was eating on like 800 calories or some craziness like that because her trainer was lots of muscles, thought that was a great idea. And then eventually she started gaining weight. Yeah. That's what happens when you do craziness like that.
This is a proper human diet. I'm not saying this is a weight loss diet. Let me just begin by saying that the reason that all the diets failed you in the past were not your fault, okay? You are not a glutton. You are not a sloth. You are not lazy. You are not a loser. You were just sold a bill of goods. You were taught a way to improve your health, to lose fat that never works.
Now, I agree with him here, right? Now, he's not abdicating personal responsibility. Because I've said this before, there's this myth out there that people who are overweight, they're just eating a ton of food in secret, right? They're lazy, they don't work out. It's more like they're trying to cut down a tree with a sledgehammer. I've said this before. I've been there, I've done that, right? Then I got professional coaching, they gave me an axe, then a chainsaw. When you actually see progress and you're maintaining your sanity, right? You're not starving yourself, so you're not hungry, as the saying goes. You can eat what you'd like to eat. All right. And you're living a normal life and you're seeing progress. You're seeing inches come off your waistline. You look different in the mirror. People compliment you. Then you're more motivated, right? You're more motivated to keep doing what the hell it is you're doing. When you don't see progress, you're going to fall off the wagon and you're going to stay off the wagon. You're not going to get back on. You're going to just quit. And then some months or years later, you'll try again. And this vicious cycle repeats itself over and over as years go by and you get fatter and fatter and fatter. That's unfortunately what happens, right? So he is correct when people are sold a bill of goods. You've seen it, whether we looked at Noom, that lady yesterday with the scamming thing that she's been sued, or these other fitness gurus with their stupid plans that don't really work. So people try them in good faith, they fail, and they don't know any better, right? It is what it is. They don't know any better.
This is not your fault, okay? So look in the mirror, forgive yourself for all those bad things that you said to yourself in the past. And you know you did that because it was not your fault. You were just given bad information and bad advice. So the number one and most important reason that all those other diets failed you is because that they were, by definition, semi-starvation diets.
Now, for those of you regular people watching the show, this is going to sound eerily familiar and is going to be somewhat shocking is not the right word, but I hope by now you've seen the light and you're eating more food, because the numbers he's going to show you are downright shocking, right? It's kind of like, this is an aside, but when they do sleep studies and they deprive people of sleep, you know what they reduce the sleep to? 6 hours. A hell of a lot of people there on the average get like 5 or 6 hours. So they're doing their own personal sleep study. I'm being sarcastic here, right? Because you're not supposed to be sleeping 5-6 hours a night. It's more like 7 to 9 hours a night. So when you're on a diet and your semi-starvation is kind, I told you about that client I had, lost to 50 pounds. She was eating like 1,000, 1,200 calories, fluctuating when I met her, got her up to 1,800 calories. I've shown you guys the FDA charts. And again, governments are conservative. You should be lady, 1,800 calories, a dude, 2,000 calories, right? Most people, or I should say, a lot of people are not eating quite as much food as they think they are. There's this myth out there that people are just devouring food left, right, and center. And I know it almost sounds contradictory because we talk about calories in, calories out. You got to be in a deficit. This is also true. Both can be true at the same time, right? You can be starving, screw up your metabolism, and still need to burn more calories than you're taking to lose weight. These things are both accurate. I know they sound contradictory, but they're both accurate. Trust me on this. And this is just another way of trying to explain this to you.
They told you to move more and eat less, right? Remember that? Now, they say this in many different ways. Some diets have point systems. Some have cards that you give yourself. Some have stickers when you've had this many starches and this many proteins. But what it all boils down to is they're all calorie restriction diets, which means they are semi-starvation diets. It's been known since the 1940s that when you starve yourself chronically, you wind up with specific symptoms, even eating disorders, inappropriate relationship with foods.
I don't think he was trying to be funny there with inappropriate relationships with food, but I found it pretty hilarious. I don't know if you guys did too.
All these things come when you're chronically trying to starve yourself. So there was this big experiment back in the 1940s done by Ansel Keys. This is some of the good research that he actually did, called the Minnesota Starvation Experiment. And he took a lot of very healthy, young, metabolically well young men who did not want to fight in the war. And he said, okay, you can serve your country a different way. And so they put them on semi-starvation diets. And the amount of calories that these men were eating every day mirrors the amount of calories that the average weight loss diet would tell you to eat a day. And after just a few weeks on this semi-starvation diet, these previously young, mentally and physically healthy men.
These are men in the 1940s, not today. You know, back then, you can imagine what physically fit and healthy look like. If you don't, just go on YouTube, go look. The dudes and the women were slim, fit, and trim, right? So these are young, physically fit dudes. So by today's standards, they'd be like really, really fit. Girls were like, ooh, look at him, right? That's the kind of fit we're talking about. Just to make sure you understand, it's not just regular Joes we're talking about, some random dude off the street, right? by today's standards, these dudes would be super fit.
Started to exhibit symptoms of eating disorders and mental disease that they had never had before. So Ansel Keys wasn't giving these young, healthy men no food. He was giving them about 1,600 calories a day. Does that sound familiar?
Let's hear that again. Let me do rewind. Wheel and come again, my youth. Wheel and come again.
And mental disease that they had never had before. So Ansel Keys wasn't giving these young, healthy men no food. He was giving them about 1,600 calories.
1,600 calories per day. Hope you guys can see that really clear on the screen, right? Turn off my little ticking scrolling thing. 1,600 calories a day. 1,600 calories a day. There are a lot of you guys that think that's eating a lot of food, right? When you're on your diets, you're way below 1,600. He reduced them to 1,600. Think back to the sleep study I told you, right? So these guys are probably eating 2,000 calories a day, and he reduced them to 1,600. That's more than a lot of guys eat, right? Almost every client I've met, male or female, I got to increase their calories. They're just not eating enough food. And they all start losing weight. Every single one of them. Whether they stick to it or not, that's another thing. But they all start losing weight, right? Sounds almost too good to be true. But when you're starving, your body can eat more food. Your body can eat more food, right? It's not. So this is an official study. So, I'm not making this stuff up, obviously. Science backs up what I'm talking about.
Today, does that sound familiar? You're like, oh, that's the amount of calories I was supposed to eat on that diet that I failed at. No. You didn't fail. The diet failed. Let me read to you some of the symptoms that these young, healthy men had when they were on a 1,600 calorie a day diet.
Listen, if some of these things sound familiar to you. They did to me when back in the day I would try dieting. I'm sure some of these things might sound familiar to you.
The participants exhibited a preoccupation with food. Sexual interest was drastically reduced. The participants reported a decline in concentration, comprehension, and judgment capabilities. There were also marked declines in physiological processes indicative of decreases in each subject's basal metabolic rate. Their body temperature went down.
Basal metabolic rate, we've talked about this before. That's the amount of calories you're burning, essentially, in layman's terms, right? When I was fat, mine was 1,100, which is terrible. It's like a kid's. Now it's 2,100. Much better.
Breathing rate went down and their heart rate decreased. They actually lowered their metabolic rate, which is your ability to burn calories, on a 1,600 kilocalorie a day diet. Now, if this happened, this is known research. This is published. This is volume 1 of 2 volumes. Look how thick that is. This was done back in the 1940s, yet every single diet that you've been told to try, probably for weight loss, but maybe for other health improvement goals, is a calorie restriction diet. But it's known that these things happen when you chronically starve a human being.
I mean, other things, I've met people talking about their hair kind of falling out, right? Irregular periods, all sorts of other crazy things can occur, right? You're not sleeping well, et cetera, et cetera. It's a vicious cycle. They cut too much, they get into these problems, the scale stops going down, they're unhappy, and they cut even more, and it doesn't get any better, it gets worse, right? It gets worse.
And indeed, if you chronically starve any mammal on the planet, they will start to become obsessed with food. They'll crave food. They will dream about food. 2 of these guys, after the study ended, they became chefs. Even though they had previously had no desire in cooking food, they literally were still so obsessed with food after this starvation experiment, they became chefs. So any diet that tells you to restrict calories or to control your portion sizes is by definition a semi-starvation diet that is not sustainable long term. It's not your fault. It's just an idiotic dietary design. It's never going to work if you took any mammal and put them on a semi-starvation diet, they're going to eventually chew their paw off trying to get out of the cage so they can go back to doing what every mammal on the planet wants to do, is designed to do, is hardwired to do, which is to eat until you're comfortably full.
That's what people used to do back in the day. Eat until you're comfortably full, right? They doesn't keep piling on the food. It's a lot harder to, or it's a lot easier rather, to eat when you're eating real food, solid foods, right? Versus processed or worse, ultra processed foods. You can munch on that stuff all night long, right? Just keep, and you're not really full. You're not fully satiated. That's what's happening when you're not eating enough protein, right?
Another reason that every diet you ever tried failed you is that they deny or ignore sugar addiction.
Sugar addiction is a real thing, man. Sugar is the devil. Sugar is the devil. Sugar is the devil. You ever watch those videos when people quit sugar for 30 days or 60 days? What happened? Yeah, sugar is crazy. Sugar is the devil.
Processed carbohydrate addiction. They'll say things to you like, oh, you can eat whatever you want. Just eat it in moderation.
No. I had a client, right? Before she became my client, she was working with this other personal trainer and had some crazy concept about eating in moderation. And she's like, I can have whatever I want. It's going to be in moderation. I remember telling her at the time, I don't think that's going to work. She's like, no, it will work and blah, 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 blah. She put on like 20 pounds, right? That does not work. Does not work. Does not work. And ironically, when she switched to me, I increased her calories, right? But this random eating in moderation thing, yeah, it's telling you to have your cake and eat it too. It's just not going to work.
This is idiotic advice. Sugar addiction is real. Highly processed carbohydrate addiction is real. And it will override your hunger hormones and your satiety hormones if you're also dealing with a processed food addiction, a sugar addiction, a wheat, a grain addiction. All of these things are going to trip you up. It's like telling an alcoholic, oh, just have one beer a day. It's fine to have a little beer in moderation. Another
It's a good example right there. You wouldn't tell somebody who's alcoholic that, right? So yeah, the whole just eat a little in moderation, bad stuff. No, it doesn't work that way. You have to have some kind of a plan. You have to know what you're consuming, how much protein, how much fats, how much carbs, right? Because pretty common thing, carbs are high and the fat is high. You can't have them both high. You can't be, oh, a ton of fat. That's probably that phrase like you can't have your cake and eat it too, right? Cake has a bunch of carbs and a bunch of fat in there.
The reason that every diet you've ever tried has failed you is because they emphasize exercise way too much.
This is true as well. Almost anybody, when they talk to me, they'll want to know about the exercises. All they want to know, the workout. That's like the sexy part of the plan. What workouts am I doing? And as you guys have said before, when you're sweating, you feel like you're making progress. It's all about the food, man. If you fail in the kitchen, I don't care what workout you have. I don't care what program you have. You can't out-work out about that. It's impossible. It's an impossibility. It's all about the food. It's all about the food, man. All about the food that you consume for a wide variety of reasons. It's all about the food. All about the food.
Most of them will say that exercise is half the battle, 50% of the battle. Some even say, especially if they own a gym or have a training course, that exercise is more than 50% of the battle. This is bullshit, okay? 99% of your fat loss, and when you say you want to lose weight, you mean I want to lose fat.
This is very true, right? I mean, you'll see in my titles thing use the term weight loss and lose weight because unfortunately, most people don't know about fat loss and fat. So if you put fat in the titles, people don't see it or they don't know to click on it. So we talk about weight loss, losing weight, because that's the terminology the majority of people understand and they know. You put things like fat loss because I tried it, right? If you do like hashtag weight loss, hashtag fat loss, weight loss is 10, 50 times more will trigger numbers than terms fat loss, right? People search for how to lose weight loss. They don't search for fat loss, unfortunately. But the reason you want to lose fat specifically is because you don't want to lose a muscle. Because most of the people there, when they're doing these starvation diets, they're not only losing fat, they're losing muscle. They're crushing their metabolism, right? So inevitably, when they stop that, then they're just gonna blow back up. That's what happens.
Right? 99% of that is going to come by changes that you make in the food that you eat and the food that you don't eat. Exercise is a terrible method for weight loss.
Terrible method for weight loss. Say it again. And I got my first super chat. Thank you, Igwe's daughter. Shout out to Igwe's daughter with the super chat. Thoughts on eating in moderation versus I guess that's if it fits your macros. I know they're not the same, but can you expand on the differences? Yeah, the eating in moderation. So if it fits your macros, let's go with that first. The better way to explain this is, let's say you have a target of 200 grams of carbs per day. Whether you get the carbs in rice, sweet potatoes, some candy, or what have you, you just need to make sure you hit these numbers, as in don't go past them, right? So this is the if it fits your macros. It allows flexibility so you can keep your sanity. You can have the pizza, but at the end of the day, your fat and carbs and protein must not exceed certain thresholds. The moderate eating now is just like, well, you can have your pizza, but it's eaten in moderation. So maybe that's a slice, maybe that's two, it depends. But you're not really tracking anything. So inevitably, eating in moderation, you eat too much or not enough. Point is, you're not tracking anything, so you don't really know. And that just generally don't work. Plus, when you got to trust yourself, you're bound to screw this up, right? You're going to eat too much pizza or not enough pizza. It varies, but most likely you're going to go on the too much side of things. And that's the difference right there. Good, very good question. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, the research is very, very clear on this. There's no equivocation in the research. If you want to lose weight, you've got to change what you eat, not exercise more. Another reason that all the other diets failed you is because of vitamin and mineral deficiencies. When you're eating less food overall and the food you are eating is nutrient void, you're going to wind up with vitamin and mineral deficiencies.
And you know what that's going to lead to, right? That's going to lead to you out there trying to devour food left, right, and center. I've spoken about this as well before. When you eat food that doesn't have something in it, your body still needs things and wants things. So it's going to just make you hungry again. It's going to keep seeking it. An example of this, well, not exactly with nutrients, is when you try to trick your body. Your body thinks it's getting sugar, some fake stuff, and your body's like, no, we want the real stuff. It's going to make you hungry again or thirsty again, what have you. Right? So you can only trick it so long, but it knows it needs certain minerals, vitamins, etc. And if you're eating this garbage that has nothing in it, it's going to make you hungry again because it's trying to get it, whatever it is it needs, because it wants to survive. It's trying to keep you alive, right?
And this can lead to severe cravings, okay? And when you're physiologically hungry and you're craving some vitamin and mineral, you're going to eat everything in the kitchen.
This is so true. I mean, think about it. I'm sure this has happened to some of you. It's happened to me for sure, right? You just have these urges. Like, it's kind of like when you're just super thirsty, but it's not that you needed water. Something else was off, right? Maybe you consume too much salt, or ironically, not enough, and you're drinking. That's a good similarity there, where you just this endless thirst. When something is off and you're trying to rectify it, right?
Trying to get that. This is not a sign of weakness on your part. This is a sign of the strength of the hard wiring of your human physiology and your brain, that if you're deficient in some vitamin or some mineral, you will do anything to get that in your mouth. That's a strength on your part, not a weakness. The next reason that all those other diets failed you is because they love to sell you highly processed shakes and bars and meals, right?
Tomorrow's show, we're going to do it's pretty hilarious, actually, looking at one of these kind of products. So yeah, they tend to want to sell all these prepackaged stuff, and inevitably they're just not that good. You know, the ingredients are not that good.
Right? And so basically they are nutrient void. So you're going to be having cravings for the vitamins and minerals that you're not getting in their highly processed junk food diet. Also, you're going to be calorie restricting. So your literal physiology, the very The very foundation of what you are as a mammal is going to be crying out for nutrition and will absolutely override your willpower and your fortitude every single time.
Like we've discussed before, man, you can't rely on willpower. You can only be tortured so long before you crack, you crumble. You will always give in. Cannot rely on willpower. Nobody's that strong. Everybody crumbles under torture. Right? The food you're trying to restrict, you're trying to, I won't eat it, you may go weeks, hell, maybe even months. But eventually you will crack, and you probably go on a bender at that point in time, right? You just go crazy on whatever said vice is, what that food vice is.
You will never win that battle if you're calorie restricting and you're eating their bars and their shakes and their little prepackaged meals that have all the vitamins and minerals and amino acids and fatty acids sucked out of them or never added in the first place, or even worse yet, fortified with fake vitamins and minerals that were made in a factory. The next reason all those other diets failed you and that you should break up with them and block their number and never talk to them again is because they sold you on the expectation that the way you were going to judge the way their diet was working for you was by the pounds on the bathroom scale. That's how you're going to judge this diet, is you're going to weigh yourself once a day, once a week, once a month, and based on what the number on the bathroom scale is, that is your metric of success.
Yeah, that's not the optimal thing. I mean, told you guys before with my coaches, I had to submit pictures weekly, front shot, side shot, and a shot of my back, right? And I do that with my clients as well. The scale is a guide. It's just one of many ways to track things. But visual is another one, right? Or your appetite. I'll ask them, is their appetite opening up? Because as I've said, if you're working out a lot and you're sleeping well and you have no appetite, then something else is off. And one of the viewers had mentioned that, yeah, their sleep was off. Their sleep has been better and their appetite is opened up. Because if you're burning all this energy and you're not hungry, something is wrong. That's a red flag right there, right? So there are multiple ways to track progress. I mean, I lost 40 pounds of fat, I gained 30 pounds of muscle. The scale only moved 10 pounds. Now, if I just had only looked at that scale, I'd be pissed. I'd be pissed, right? I'm not going to lie. But, I went changed my wardrobe several times, right? You can make progress there are many ways to measure progress. But it's typically the scale, right? These competitions is always about the scale. The biggest lose all these things. And we did a show on that, showing how many of these people put all this weight back on and then some, right? So it's not the best way to go. And in some cases, it can actually be unhealthy, right? Because several of those people on the biggest loser, they get even fatter. And these were people that were morbidly obese to begin with, right? So that's terrible. Really, really sad.
That is dumb. Okay, there are multiple ways that you can tell that your body, your mind.
He was a bit more blunt than me. I think I paused it at the right moment. He's like, dumb. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to be tactful here.
Mind and your metabolism are healing. And very often the number on the bathroom scale ain't one of those metrics. What you currently weigh on your bathroom scale versus what you weighed on the scale last week actually has very little to do with the healing that's going on in every organ of your body when you adopt a proper human diet and eat 1 or 2 or 3 meals a day until you are comfortably stuffed.
Until you're comfortably stuffed. So studies show, right? And it's very popular, eat multiple times per day. I do, more than 3 times that is. It's a form of convenience in some cases, right? Because you can eat 3 meals a day and be fully fine. Or you can eat 4 or 5. Generally speaking, there's not much more benefit beyond the 4 or 5, really. It's just a matter of what's easier for you to maintain, what's realistic for you, right? If 3 meals a day gets the job done, 3 meals a day gets the job done. As long as you're satiated, and it depends. If you're trying to say put on muscle and you needed to eat more calories, then perhaps you can't fit it in 3 meals, right? It's all a matter of convenience. The studies are pretty clear in that it doesn't matter which version you take. There's no one better than the others. Like fasted cardio versus non-fasted cardio. One is not better than the other. They're both effective.
Then guess what you do? You stop eating. And because you've eaten so much healthy fat and healthy protein, you're not going to be hungry again for many, many hours.
This is true. Said it before, man. You eat a bunch of carbs, like a bunch of rice, like say fried rice, versus eating a big piece of chicken or steak. You'll be way more hungrier from that carb meal than the protein meal. It's like if you eat a bunch of chocolate, you're gonna be starving again in short order, right? That's nothing excellent. Those things don't fill you up. Protein is satiating, right? Between the you get those amino acids, the fats, etc., etc. It's far more satiating.
Not going to be snacking. You're not going to be thinking about food, fantasizing about food, daydreaming about food, doing dishonest things to get food, lying to your family, lying to your friends, lying to yourself. You're not going to have to do any of that because your body is fully satiated with all the healthy fat and protein in a proper human diet. And also, you're not going to be craving any vitamins and minerals because a proper human diet is replete with those as well. So if you're ready to get a restraining order against all of those previous diets that treated you so badly and abused you so much, then I'm very proud of you. I hope you never look back. I've got over 500 videos on this YouTube channel that are going to help you understand the basic principles of what a proper human diet is. You don't have to buy any shakes or powders or pre-packaged meals. You don't have to sign up for a program. You can start to reverse chronic diseases today. You can start to lose fat today. You can start to build healthy muscle, bone, and connective tissue today by eating a proper human diet. Check out my other video.
You know, he's very right. I've mentioned before, I had dermatitis. I mean, technically I still do. Eczema, psoriasis, all these things just magically went away when I started eating differently, right? They just magically went away. You see these stories all the time. People have these skin problems, all these other kind of things, and they clean up their diet. And not just the diet, it's other things, right? Your perfume, your cologne, something you're putting in your hair. It doesn't matter. You're just not sure what can set you off, so to speak, right? Because remember, all those things are autoimmune diseases, essentially. Psoriasis and eczema, etc., etc. So your body fighting against itself. Because there's so many of these chemicals there's this thing, what grass generally regarded as safe. Meaning in many cases, the chemicals they're assumed to be safe. They have to be proven to be bad for them not to be allowed. I know it sounds crazy, right? Company wants to use this new chemical. They don't have to prove that it's not dangerous. I get you, that sounds crazy, but that is how it is. You can look this up yourself, right? So at the end of the day, you know, you can summarize a lot of what he's talking about in back to calories in and calories out. It comes to that a lot, right? And on this channel, we what do we say? We follow the laws of thermodynamics. But of course, my boy Homer can do that much better job than I can.
In this house, we obey the laws of thermodynamics.
Exactly, Homer. Thank you. Thank you so much. Got another super chat here. The Positive Therapist. From a psychological perspective, diets demonize particular food groups like carbohydrates or fats. Thus, foods are seen as bad, so the banning actually backfires. Yeah, I gotta admit, back in the day, I was big on the banning. You know, I've definitely become more enlightened on this stuff. That's why I say you can have your. Don't sound contradictory, but there are ways to have your cake and eat it too, right? So, for example, pizza. I would say you get the organic pizza. If you don't get the organic pizza, just get the pizza, right? Because it's all about, I'm a big believer of if it fits your macros, for sure. Maintain your sanity. You can socialize, do stuff with family, friends, etc. Personally, I try to just go the organic route because almost anything that I want, I can find an organic version of it. Especially if I'm just going to the supermarket like Whole Foods, right? My ice cream cake sandwiches. I make exceptions for these things. Like I told you guys already, the cherries or something I really, really want. My Applebee's spare ribs, there's no organic version of that. The sauce, I don't think it's terribly healthy. Still devour that sucker anyway, right? But I'm following like a 90-10, 80-20 kind of rule. In a sense, the vast majority of the time I'm eating clean, eating well. And as a result of that, good things happen. I don't have eczema. It doesn't flare up, I should say, or the psoriasis, etc. And my weight is not going in the wrong direction, right? I'm maintaining or maintaining. So that is very true. When you start demonizing things as bad, it can have negative consequences, let's say. Negative consequences, for sure. Very good point. All right, let me scroll back through. Oh, and let me drop the link in case any of you guys want to call in. Thought he explained things very well, very lucidly. Hey, Needs Watches rode the bike again. Congratulations. Keep it up, man. 6 pounds will become 16, then 26. Next thing you know, you'll be like, wow. If you put all that weight in a backpack and go on your bike a couple months from now, you'll be like, damn, I used to ride around with all of this stuff. You'll be shocked. I remember I did that when I was doing triathlons. Packed up a backpack and I'm like, wow, man, I was lugging around a lot of me back then. The realist she says, I just completed my workout for the day. I need to hydrate, but I feel great to have put another workout in the books. Yes, I agree. It's rare that you go to the gym and you regret it. Sometimes when you go, you're really just not feeling it, right? But you almost never go there. It's like when you're dragged out to go out, you rarely say, I wish I never went out. You always enjoyed yourself at night, right? Usually you did. Let's see. The realist she says that I really believe that the mind is where the battle is won or lost. People who've made up their minds can and have accomplished great things. Yep, this is true. This is very true. You have to be mentally at a certain spot when you're receptive to these kind of messages, let's say. Skincare do's and don'ts, getting it in at the gym. Shout out to that. Get it in. I agree. Let's see where we're going. Hey, yeah, you're right. I don't see Kamitas today. Waiting for it to come in with peace. That's true. Hello again, Angelique. Angelique was pretty hardcore. Well, I guess she's a morning person, or maybe not, but she got her workout done in the morning. Congrats. Yeah, discipline is the key, man. Discipline is the key. And once you get in that routine, then it becomes easy, like brushing your teeth. You just do it, right? You just do it. That's, yeah. Skincare do's and don'ts. At my age, I wish I could have my cake and eat it too. I gained 2 pounds from just eating one piece of cake. Yeah. Many of us have passed that point, unfortunately. But you can splurge on occasion. This is good. Like I told you about vacations, you can, if you're doing well most of the time, you can splurge and enjoy yourself, right? It's very possible. It's extremely possible, actually. Get that basal metabolic rate up, get it up, and you burn a lot of calories, right? Yes. Deficiencies can lead to electrolyte imbalances. No bueno. This is true. Yeah. Positive therapist says, yes, they do love to sell the processed foods full of sugar and other bad ingredients. This is true. Because they know it's kind of addictive, right? We've talked about this on another show before, that ultra processed food. These companies know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. Yes, you'll eventually crumble under the pressure. I love his humor. Yes, yeah, he was pretty funny. Yeah, he had some. It was pretty comedic, right? Deadpan humor, I think is what it's called, or a restraining order. Yeah, it really does set people up for fail, because when you have somebody who comes on Instagram or YouTube or the TV, they look incredible, or they sound like they know what the hell they're talking about, like they're a doctor so and so or a doctor this or blah blah blah. And you'll sit there and you listen and you're like, yeah. We're gonna follow. I remember in high school, you look at the magazines, you're trying to follow these programs and nothing is happening for you. You wonder why. Oh, you just gotta try harder. But they were just nonsense. But we didn't know that. There was no YouTube back then. Right? Unfortunately. Hey, B. Paulie, welcome back. B. Paulie makes his own pizza. Okay, there are many great pizza options. I make one with almond flour crust. That does sound good. Nice. That's another option. You can make your own. You're right. Hey, you can go on YouTube, find these videos to show you how to bake and cook different things. That is true. Many restaurants sell cauliflower crust pizza. There you go. Let's see what else we got here. A key to sustainable. So a positive therapist says a key to sustainably losing weight and living a healthy lifestyle is to understand how your Psychology impacts your behavior. Yes. It's different things for different people. Like for me, like I said, one of my strategies is when I'm going ham on stuff, if I think it's out of control, I'll just put it in the garbage. If it was a cheat meal or whatever, I think I'm just going crazy on the ice cream cake sandwiches, for example, or something else. I like, you know what? These need to go now. I'm not restraining myself. I'm not doing them after workouts or I'm eating too many of them. They got to go. They got to go. The money has been spent. They got to go. Right? But you have to figure out what works for you or what your weak spots is and factor them in, right? So Wazimana Angelique says, my current craving is croissants. Whole Foods have vegan croissants, then that's my current battle. Yeah. Is a audit I had to Egypt. I didn't realize how bad those things could be calorically. Yeah, I know we're using the word bad, but you know what I mean. How much calories those things can have, man. I was like, damn. Because every morning we're at this nice GW Marriott, I think. And man, we're going ham on that buffet with the croissants and all those other goodies. It was like, man, then I wondered why I put on weight in 3 weeks. Yeah. Yep. The positive therapist says these receptors, well, let me get back to her previous comment. She says every neuron in your brain has hard working receptors on its surface that receive signals from nearby neurons. These receptors can be affected by drug use. Neurons send and receive messages using molecules called neurotransmitters. This is true. Yes, skincare doings. Croissants are high in fat. That's what I didn't know. I just thought they were a carby thing. I think it's the butter in them or something, I think. I remember I was shocked, but you're right, but they're so good. Yeah. But that's one of those things, and this is where you got to pick your battles, right? They taste good, but it's a kind of taste good that I'm fine with not eating, me personally, right? Now, there are other things that I really want to devour or drink or what have you. See, you got to try and pick your battles, right? If I'm going to blow my calories, it's not going to be croissants. It's going to be something else. But if you are a croissant lover like Angelique, then yeah, blow your calories on that as your vice, let's say. Just make sure your carbs or fats are not too high and you're getting enough protein, right? Let's see if I'm missing anything else. I think I've covered all the comments. And thank you guys again so much for the super chat. I really, really appreciate. Shout out to all super chats. Shout out to the super chats. So I didn't think today would be a terribly long show. Tomorrow's show is definitely going to be longer because the video we're going to look at is much longer, but it's highly entertaining. The dude is hilarious. I got to admit, pretty hilarious and also educational. But it will be looking at a real life product. To show you some of the mumbo jumbo stuff that goes on in there. Yeah, it's I'm looking forward to that one. Tomorrow's show is going to be pretty good. So I've dropped the link again just in case anybody wants to call in with any comments or any questions. I think I've covered all the comments. Yeah. Yep, I believe so. All right, so if I see nobody else calling in, again, great show. Very good questions and points. Thanks. Because, you can't think of everything for these shows, but sometimes your guys' comments or questions trigger good discussion or trigger my memory so I can point something out. So I really, really appreciate it. So again, great show. So later's my massive. Me I go along now. For those who don't speak Jamaican patois, that is goodbye, my people. Peace. See you guys mañana.